So that's my midpoint in my concert. So that's where like the band would take a break. We might have like a song in the middle or something, like something, you know, whatever. And then they would come back. Right. So
yes, that's right.
All right. So what are you coming back with then?
All right. I'm going with the crown jewel on this entire set list. Okay. And very similar to what you just said is that there's a bit of a space where the band kind of takes a bit of a breather, and then they come back on stage, they do their thing. So during the introduction of this, it's pretty lengthy, and it gives people time to kind of take a breather a little bit. The crown jewel of this set list is Crystal Ball.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He has never done that song live, and I understand it because it's just how complex it is, and it's a one-man band effort, like much of his greatest recordings. But then I think Susanna does the background, so she's like, I don't know, I have to ask my mommy first, kind of thing. But I can imagine like during the Claire Fisher orchestration in the beginning, everyone's like, oh, is he really about to do this song, or is this just an intro? And everyone's kind of taking a break, and then I was thinking, expert lover. It's like, and the whole crowd goes nuts, right? And I would too. I'd be jumping all around, all kinds of crazy. I'm like, yo, he's really taking it there. So yeah, like I would argue that Crystal Ball is the greatest fusion track I think he's ever done. Because like you get, and again, I mean, an argument can be made for almost any song because he never stayed in one place in terms of genre.
Yeah.
But you get rock, pop, funk, soul orchestration. And then when he's talking about as bombs explode around us and hate advances on the right, like, you know, he's talking about like, it's very apocalyptic funk type stuff that you hear in like 1999 and, you know, that kind of stuff. And it's all, it all sounds like it's ripped from, you know, the book of Revelation. You know, it's just talking about how the world's going to come to an end kind of thing. So you even get some gospel elements in there. So it's just like he covers so much ground in 10 minutes. And his, I love the musical breakdown where he's like, tell me what the bass say. Bum, 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 bum. I could just, oh my gosh, I can imagine just going crazy on the slap bass. Like, it's just nuts.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, love Crystal Ball. And again, I understand why he didn't record it or perform it live, but gosh, like that to me, like that is the apex of this whole Dream concert. If he did that, like you could cart me away after that. I don't really need to see the rest of the show, but I'm going to stick around for it. You know what I'm saying? So song number 9.
So so 8, so 10 for me, but we'll just
that's right.
Going into the second half, we'll say. So for me, I actually have, and I guess this is probably another one of those kind of, I'm starting both parts of the concert off with one that's a little bit not well known, but I'm going with Rich Friends.
Ooh, okay. Now that's a song I haven't heard. Tell me about that one.
So Rich Friends, it's from the 2010 like extended tracks.
Okay.
So Rich Friends, it's, you know, it's Prince and Shelby J, and it's Who Needs Money When You Got Rich Friends. It's a fun song. It's a fun kind of happy kind of poppy song, which is where I would want to bring in the next set of songs. But also it actually talks a lot about wealth disparity. So, so it's a song about kind of wealth disparity and whatnot. So, you know, it's like, I ain't got nothing. I'm friends with somebody who got something. So kind of going with that vein, but also it's very poppy. It's, you know, it's very jumpy. And I feel like that's kind of the kind of track that you need coming back, especially since technically the first half of the concert ended on a little bit of a downer and a more of kind of a low key track with Here. So kind of coming back into it, we want like a bam, bam, bam kind of song. So yeah.
I like that. I like that. And again, I'm surprised that I haven't heard that song. So I got some researching to do.
Yeah, that's how I'm bringing my concert back.
Okay. All right, cool. So after the freaking explosion of Crystal Ball, we're going into another song that's going to appear on Sign of the Times Deluxe. And I am so glad that it's making it. Adonis and Bathsheba.
Okay.
Love that ballad. I remember the first time I heard it, I was living in Atlanta. And like I felt like my face just melted off. Like it was just, oh my gosh, just everything about it was amazing. You have Eric Leeds and Atlanta Bliss on horns. You hear some of Prince's best guitar work. Like I love the soloing that he does on the second half of the song. And this is where my I kind of give Susan Rogers the classic side eye Prince look of like, really? I can't believe you're. So she was on an episode of Podcast Juice with Michael Dean.
Okay.
And she had said that when Prince recorded that, he recorded it during the Parade era. Prince had basically kind of been like, what do you think of this song? And she laughed at him. She's like, this is one of the cheesiest songs I've ever heard. And I'm like, what? Like, how can you say that when you're in the studio with someone who's laying down like so much classic material, and you say that this doesn't deserve a place on any album, especially Parade? I'm like, man. Yeah. And Michael Dean felt the same way. He like at first he was like, yo, that's interesting. And then like a couple episodes later, he was like, yeah, I still can't believe that Susan Rogers like had the nerve to tell Prince that, you know. but yeah, I absolutely love Adonis and Bathsheba. And I believe on Prince Vault it said that Prince was entertaining the idea of doing like a compilation album of his best love ballads. And it was going to be called When Two Are in Love, and Adonis and Bathsheba was going to be on that album. So I'm glad that Prince cared enough about it to at least entertain the idea of putting it on an album. But yeah, I'm just excited that it's a part of the set list on Sign of the Times Deluxe. So I'll definitely be checking it out. Yeah.
So that song is actually one that I have.
So do I.
But I don't even think I've actually heard it. So like when you say the name, I know that I have the song. I know the song exists, but I have no clue what it sounds like in my head. But what you described, I'm like, well, damn, maybe I should go listen to it right now.
Dude.
But yeah. But also I'm holding off. I'm one of like, there's a few of us like in the Prince community that were just like, that's cool that they're releasing some of the tracks early. I am not listening to them purposefully because I want to, when Sign of the Times comes and hits my door, I want to listen to the whole thing right then and be blown away all at once, as opposed to having the trickle mind blow. You know?
Okay. Oh so, man, I wish I had that much discipline, because each time they've leaked out something like on the Prince channel, I'm like, okay, time to see what's coming out of the vault. And I will say this: if you haven't heard any of the songs, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with the stuff that they've released so far.
So my next song after Rich Friends is one that it wasn't necessary. It's not under the radar, but it is one that I don't think many people have heard. And it's not one that Prince, it is actually one Prince wrote for somebody else, but I've always wanted to hear him sing it. And it's Paris 1798430.
Okay.
Have you ever heard that one?
I can't say I do. Like where was that from?
So it's a song he wrote for Tevin Campbell and Tevin Campbell's second album.
Okay. Gotcha.
And I've always loved that song. And as we go down the songs, you'll get like the second half of the concerts, more social commentary sort of thing. It goes, Paris 1798430. My soul's in hiding. Like, you know, it's actually like, it's nice song. Tevin kind of kills it. But I always wanted to hear Prince do it. So that's that song. And it's actually all about like, how, you know, Black people are killed and it sucks. And, you know, and that's what that song is. It's like Prince wrote it. He's just like, yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff happening in the US. So I'm chilling in Paris right now, you know? So like, and then he apparently decided not to do it himself. He gave it to Tevin Campbell, who again, sang it very, very well. But that's one of my dream songs that if I was going to have him do a song that he wrote for somebody else, I would want that one to end up here. And I was surprised too, because I watched my video of what songs would I want on the originals, like if they did a volume 2, and I can't believe that I didn't put this song on that list. But yeah, Paris 1798430.
Again, like I'm glad we're doing this, because like I said, you have songs in your list I'm like, even I haven't heard. And again, I don't know everything about everything. So I love being pleasantly surprised. And that's what you've done so far. So
thank you. Thank
you. Yeah,
that song too, that's off of his second album, I'm Ready. It's a good song. It's a great song. I remember listening to that album and I was just like, well, obviously that one was written by Prince. Like just listening to it, like the rest of it is Quincy Jones, so it has a very Quincy Jones feeling, and it goes into this song, and I'm like, oh, well, that's a Prince song. Got it. Like, feels like a Prince song. Like, there's no way, because that's the same album Shh is on, his version of Shh.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
those are the 2 songs by Prince on his second album.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, I knew about Shush, and I knew that Tevin did it, and Prince also did it on the Gold Experience, but I was not familiar with the song that you just mentioned. So I'm excited to check that one out.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. So for my next song, I think this is going to surprise a lot of people. It's from Raven to the Joy Fantastic.
Okay.
And it is a song that, to me, had it been released in the late 80s as an album cut or a B-side, I think people would give it more credit than they do now. And it's Strange But True.
Okay.
I really dig that song. It's just like, it's such a unique creation. Musically, it sounds like it's kind of getting into that electro, like it's very digitally driven. So it almost like, I guess, kind of imagine how Bat Dance sounds. And that's kind of what I hear, you know, like Bat Dance, 200 Balloons. It kind of feels like it's part of that group musically. And lyrically, he's talking about some deep stuff. Like he's just, you know, on negativity bows, like that. Like he just really gets super deep into it. And yeah, I think had it been released in the late 80s with that that upbeat, you know, Euro dance kind of sound. And I love like the bass popping in it. And then you got you got the record scratching and stuff. It's just, it's a great creation of different sounds. Really dig Strange But True. It's a really unique song.
You know, when I started trying to get my middle kid into Prince, he was very much listening to like dubstep and like that. And I remember I was like, listen to these few songs. And I made like a short, like 5-song list, and Strange But True was on it. I had like Human Body was on it.
Oh, good one.
And I had the 2 songs from Hit and Run Phase 1, the Ain't About to Stop and We Came to Shut This Down.
Oh, yeah, Shut This Down.
And I was just like, listen to these, and then you can come back and I'll let you listen to some more. And my middle kid was like, those songs are great. Like, you know, and that's the example of what I mean. Whenever anybody's like, what album should you start somebody off with or whatever? And I'm like, it depends on what they are into.
Exactly.
It has something for everybody. So for my little kid, I was like, okay, you're into electronic music, listen to these electronic tracks. And then, you know, now he listens to a bunch of stuff. So it's great. So yeah, no, I love Strange But True though. Like, again, that's another album I can't wait to get to. I'm almost there, actually. All right. So after Paris 1798430, I have The Same December.
Oh God, that's a good one. And I don't have it on my list.
So, that's one of those songs that, like, I remember when I got Chaos and Disorder, and that was the song that got, like, I was jamming out to that song. I think it's probably still my favorite song on that album because it's so good.
Yeah.
But I love that. I love that song also, again, within the concert that I'm creating here, because you have, you know, rich friends. There's a lot of wealth disparity. There's a lot of bad things happening. Paris 1798430. You have where, like, there's so much bad stuff you kind of want to run away from it. So now we're in The Same December. We're like, okay, but we have to acknowledge that there's differences, but we're actually all the same. And, you know, it's all of that stuff. So it's a little bit of like a recollection, a reckoning of the idea, those bad things kind of coming before it. But also it's rockin'.
Yeah, so it is.
It's a pretty rockin' song. And Rich Friends, which is kind of jumpy and dancey, followed by Paris with the number, where it's a little bit even faster paced than Rich Friends, and gets you even a little bit more hyped. Then you come into Same December, and that's a rocking song. And then obviously my next song is going to be a ballad to kind of cool everything down. So but I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. So going into your next one, what do you?
My next one is a B-side. It's from 1985, and it is Hello, and it is the fresh dance mix of Hello.
Okay.
I love the extra instrumentation at the beginning, where it's like the very high pitched bass notes that he's playing, is just, oh, it's so funky, so funky.
Nice.
And you know, to your point earlier, is like, you know, the socially conscious Prince also intrigues me as well.
Yeah.
And you know, for anyone that knows the backstory on Hello, you know, about him, you know, turning down the offer to be on We Are the World, and he turned in another song, I believe it was For the Tears in Your Eyes. You know, he had given that to them, and you know, a lot of people just were kind of turned off by it. Even though Sheila E. was there, a part of the group singing with We Are the World, it wasn't enough for some people. So I found it interesting how he just kind of clapped back, you know, like in that way of like, hey, like, okay, you know, like there's more important stuff that we could talk about. There's just as much hunger here at home than there is in Africa, you know? So it was like, he's got a point. Like, you know, before we try to go fix other people, let's look at what's going on in our own backyard, you know?
Yeah. You know, it's weird. I always try to think about this, right? Because back in the day, were there musical, like, I know with like rap nowadays, like, oh, you dissed me in your song, so I'm going to put out another diss track. And like, it's a very common thing nowadays. Like Prince would have all kinds of stuff back in the day, like calling out specific people in his songs and stuff. But I can't think of anybody else, like, until, you know, like rap and stuff started coming out. I can't think of anybody else that was doing that in their music. Are there anybody, like, or am I just losing my mind here?
No, I can think of, I have a couple friends of mine that are familiar with songs that were written in response to something that was going on in real life, but they were very subtle about it.
Right.
And unless you knew the context of that situation, you wouldn't know. And I forget the name of the song, but there was some song that like there was a beef between Marvin Gaye and Teddy Pendergrass. And they kind of released some songs that were involved with someone that they were romantically involved with. So I'll need to find that out and just make sure that I'm being factually correct in saying that. But to your point though, is like, it wasn't a very common thing. It was very rare, if at all, you heard it. But to me, the first, I guess, pop, you know, artist that did that would be Prince. I can't think of anybody else before that would use their platform to say, okay, well, you know, I hear what you're saying, and I'm about to respond. You're about to feel every piece of this bitterness I got, you know, like, hey, like, you're talking about me like I'm not going to hear what you're going to say. So, all right, let me clap back at you. I dig it. It's one of my favorites. One of my favorite B-sides, period.
All right, so my song number 13, after the same December, I went with Moonbeam Levels.
Gosh. See, there you go again. Another freaking rib shot.
There you go.
Oh, that's a great song.
And so the idea is that, you know, all of the bad stuff happening and all of that stuff, because Moonbeam Levels is basically about contemplating suicide. So that's where I was going with that. It stinks, like that's the storyline that I chose to tell. It's just a great song. It fits really well. And again, like with the escalation of the tone, and now we're like dropping it down to, you know, breaking it down a little bit more with a slow song in the middle here, because we don't want it to all be completely super hyped, you know. So no, I dig it. I dig its placement here, Moonbeam Levels.
Okay. Well, I do have a hot take because I am a huge fan of that song. When it comes to 1999, the album, and again, like, I'm having a nitpick when I say this. If I were to take off Free and put in Moonbeam Levels in its place, and then take off International Lover and just have it end on All the Critics Loving You in New York, to me, to me, it's a better album for it. But I'm sure there's probably going to be some Prince fans coming for me because I said International Lover needs to go. So, but yeah, Moonbeam Levels is a brilliant song. And like you said, even though the content of it is dark, Prince handles it with so much class and so much integrity that you're not turned off by it. You're like, okay, like, I get what he's trying to say, you know?
Yeah. Talking about, like, if you were to switch the album up, no, I dig that. And actually, I would probably leave International Lover. I probably would leave International Lover on, just because I feel like I think it still fit even if you do that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting though, because changing that song, it changes the context of the album, because it turns it from all of this terrible stuff is happening, but let me be happy for what I have, to all of this terrible stuff is happening and I'm on the verge of killing myself.
Yeah.
You know, and that also changes Lady Cab Driver. Like,
right.
That changes Lady Cab Driver from, hey, I finally accepted my place in life and now it's time to stick it to the big guy, to I literally needed this woman to save my life. You know, and like it's a subtle change, but
it is.
You know, but it does definitely change the story that was being told on the album. Yeah.
And
actually I like that song and Free. I like both songs though.
Me too. Yeah. Like I said, I'm nitpicking by taking those songs off. And I guess the inspiration for that change up came from just the sequence of it. You have Automatic, Something in the Water Does Not Compute, and then Imagine Moonbeam Levels right after that. Like that is that's a heck of a trio to deal with.
Oh yeah. You know? I think if that was the album, I think that album would be even more esteemed than it is now.
I agree.
I definitely agree, because you're right. It's kind of that 1-2 punch there. Most definitely.
Yeah. So my next song, going back to the Batman soundtrack, as much as I love it, we are going with Trust. Nice. I love Trust. And in my tribute that I wrote, one of the sections in there, I said, I really appreciate how Prince was able to take his signature sound and recreate it in a unique way. So in the movie for Batman, Joker is, throwing out wads of money to the crowds lining the streets, only to gas them with the Smilex, so it's like he does like a bait and switch there. And on Trust, I think Prince does a similar effect where he's drawing you in with like, this lustful funk that you would hear on the Black album, where he's saying, hot, get so excited, just thinking about all we could do. But then like, as the song goes on, he ends up baptizing you in the pure gospel of Love Sexy.
Yeah.
And because there's a lyric in there several lyrics in there where it says, sex is not that type of party.
Yep.
We're getting higher tonight. And then towards the end of the song, it's like, who do you trust if you can't trust God? Who can you trust? Who can you? So I love that bait and switch. And it's so upbeat that you can't help but just get caught up in the excitement of it. But yeah, absolutely love that song. So it feels like a bridge between the Black album and Love Sexy in terms of the spiritual. I
can hear that song fitting really well after Hello as well. Yeah. Like just like tonally.
Right.
Definitely. All right. So for me, after Moonbeam Levels, I have the Space Universal Love remix.
Ooh, good one.
Is another. If people watch my channel, they know what's going to end up on my list. These
songs
I talk about all the time. So for me, also, it's if you're on the verge of death, you require like that universal love, that love that is coming from something else, kind of similar to Trust. So it's kind of like that. So that's kind of why I had that there, because I wanted it to be, you're at your lowest moment and you're kind of accepting this love. And also it's an amazing remix of a song. It's a completely different song. It just uses the same beat as Space.
Yeah.
But like, man, love that song. So also kind of continuing the low key kind of slow, but we're also then Space is a little bit faster. It's kind of, I guess, mid to low tempo. So we're starting to build back up again as well, towards an ending, because we're almost there.
We're coming up on it. So technically this is my last song, but it's 3 songs in one. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
So this is songs 14, 15, and 16 all combined. And I'm taking it back to our artificial age conversation where it's Affirmation I and II, Way Back Home, and then Affirmation III.
Okay.
All of it's grouped together. And that is the emotional, like that's that uppercut. That's the finale where it's just like, okay, like we've reached the end of our journey. Yeah. And I want you guys to walk away with, I'm glad you guys had a good time, but also be, mindful of, that, the time that we have on earth, we're on borrowed time. So make the most of it before you make your way back home in the afterlife.
And that would be like Prince too, to do that. It would be like, it's funky, 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 all these 80s songs. It's great. By the way, here's my latest track, Way Back Home. Take a deep listen because I'm not cutting any of it.
Which, by the way, speaking of Way Back Home, I thoroughly enjoyed your conversation with Joshua Welton, and I'm glad that you guys talked about that song along with the other stuff that he's working on. Man, I would have felt just like him. Like I would have felt like a kid in a candy store working with Prince.
Oh my
God. Know, so like that would have been a dream come true. And to hear Josh talk about his favorite songs before he met Prince, and then, you know, his favorite songs, you know, that he did with him and all that stuff. I love the story, by the way, and I hope I'm not giving anything away from anyone that hasn't seen the interview yet. But when I think he said they were in the middle of a rehearsal session, and he's like, "Yo, man, I love that song. You need to release it." He's like, "That sexy dancer." You know, like I love that moment. It was so great. I laughed so hard at that part. It was so good.
Oh my God, I would have been so. I mean, it's one of those moments where you should be embarrassed, but also one of those moments like I'm sure that Prince just constantly brought it up.
Oh,
like,
I'm sure.
From then on.
He was ribbing him for it. Be like, hey, yeah. Oh, you know what? I should release this song, but I already did. You know, so maybe you should go back and listen to it. You know,
that sounds exactly like his sense of humor. No, I like that too. I like the idea of ending it on Way Back Home. Definitely. Including the affirmations and making sure people are absorbing that, and and having it be after trust as well.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, exactly. That's a different 1-2 punch.
Yes.
Exactly.
But I will say, to come back to our conversation about Artificial Age and Plectrum Electrum, you made me a believer in understanding why funk and roll has its place on the album. Because I remember that was my gripe with it. I'm like, why are you spoiling the flow? You know, no pun intended when I say that, because that sounds like from Shush. But yeah, like after our conversation about those two albums, I went back and listened to both, you know, just back to back, and I'm like, gosh, that theory actually makes a lot of sense. So hats off to you for that. But again, knowing that I was working within 80 minutes, if there was a way for me to keep it intact the way that it is on the album, I would have done that, believe it or not. I would have kept the funk and roll in there, but yeah, I crammed the three together and said, hey, this is the emotional gut punch at the very end. Now you get to go home, kind of thing.
No, I dig that. I dig that a lot. I didn't include the affirmation stuff. I could have. That's a great ending. Yeah. What I actually have, so I guess you're done now. Is that?
Yeah. That's the end of my set list. So I'm excited to see what else you got. Let's go.
Okay. So so first off, hats off to you. That's a good set list.
Cool. Thank you.
Definitely. So after Space Universal Love Remix, I wanted to do something joyous, so I went to Rebirth of the Flesh.
Oh gosh. Oh man, I can't wait to hear that song on Sound of the Times Deluxe, because I have a copy of that song and absolutely love it. Yeah, but continue. I cut you off. I'm so sorry. Keep going.
And I have a version of it, and luckily for me, the version I have of it is a good version.
Agreed. Same here.
I jam out to that song all the time. It's just so good. Then I have the ending of the concert I have with Goodbye from Crystal Ball.
Good.
So, and technically, it's not the goodbye that, it like in the song, it's like to a person. But to this, I kind of had it as to like the idea of what both of the first and the second halves of the concert were. The first half being like trying to chase down this love that you think you need. So goodbye to that. And then, the second half of like all of the terrible things in the world, goodbye to that. So it was more like in that vein, which is why I would end it on, quote unquote, end it on goodbye. But then the encore is Deliverance.
Oh gosh, that's a great song, man.
Yeah. So
great song.
End it on goodbye, which is a killer ending for this thing. But you come back and you have that amazing guitar solo on Deliverance, because if we can't do Purple Rain, for me, I was like, well, then I need another song that's got a big guitar moment in it, because that's what Prince would end a concert on.
Very true. Yeah.
So I was like, Deliverance, bam. So, and I just love that song. And it's funny, I had somebody ask me, it was during the oh, that's right, it was during the Dirty Mind Graffiti Bridge panel that I was there.
The symposium.
Yeah, the symposium. And there was a question that was thrown out, and it was like, what's your favorite release? And I was like, Deliverance, like, even though it technically wasn't released. Technically wasn't released. But like, for me though, I listened to that way more than I've been listening to Purple Rain Deluxe or 1999 Deluxe or any of that stuff. I still just pop on Deliverance all the time. It's like a solid 16 minutes of just gets in and just rocks your socks off and then leaves you wanting more. And I still listen to it, but that's me though, right?
Yeah.
I know that I am definitely in the minority, but like the estate could release that little quick 5-song little medley
the EP.
From 2006. And I would love that way better than anything from the 80s that they could put out, you know? So that's me, which is why I'm like, ending the album on Deliverance is like, that's a killer ending for me, because that's the way my brain works. Everybody else would be like, oh, so you're ending it on Deliverance? You're not gonna end it on like an 80s song, like a big song or anything? Like, no, man, Deliverance, that's the joint right there, man.
No, I agree with you. I remember when it first leaked out and all the buzz about it, I'm like, man, I really need to check this out. And I was fortunate enough to hear it. And like you said, for a 5-song EP, just he still manages to cover a lot of ground and go in different directions that you wouldn't necessarily expect from him, especially in 2006.
Yeah.
You know, so it was very interesting. I think the song "I Am" is probably my favorite song on that project.
Good.
I love it. I love it. But yeah, the title track "Deliverance" is great. Great stuff. And like I said, it's definitely more of a puts a little more pep in your step versus the Way Back Home thing that I did. I'm sending people home with broken hearts, you know. But after starting with All My Dreams, yeah, I need you to go on your way back home.
Well, I mean, but you had a lot of like very like fast like funk in. I mean, you did your job as like, you know, you did your job as the set list person. So like, if you take all that you put in there, like in accordance, like you did a good job because you hit the notes that you needed to hit to deliver on that ending. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's not even, you know, like, sure, technically you're leaving them on a down note, but I think what you're doing is you're making them think, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm all for that. Like, I love the idea of going to a concert and leaving it with a different idea.
I feel like, okay,
for coming back and hanging out with me. I'm sure we'll have many more times that we will get together and discuss things and have fun. And you know, you keep doing what you're doing, man. You're awesome. Especially, I mean, I know you're doing a lot of amazing things. I know you just got a brand new job. So like, you know, keep being you, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. Like I said, I can't believe it's been this long since I've been back on the channel, but it's been fun coming back. And like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing what people have to say about what we just discussed. It's going to be pretty interesting. So.
Definitely. I think there's going to be some amazing commentary on our lists. I'm curious as to how many people are going to give us their own list. That is what I'm mostly curious about.
Me too. I hope that they pull something out like you said, like with Glasscutter. Like, I didn't even think to check that, but I'm like, dang it, I should have had that in my list. But again, but to your point, like I want to see those lists. Like, I want to see the ones that are radically different from mine, and they'd be like, wow, okay, like why did you pick this song? Like, I'm curious, you know, because maybe they share something with me where it's like, okay, now I have a greater appreciation for that song. Yeah. Now that you've given me your reason why you picked it, you know, that I love those conversations.
And we only had one song that matched. That was actually kind of interesting.
Did we? Yeah. So Love and Sex. That's it.
That's it. That was the only one.
Wow, man. Right? So again, bringing it back to Prince, hats off to him for having such a huge body of work that is so diverse that you and I only overlapped one time. That's it. That's insane to think about. I was thinking that, I was like, and I probably should have said this at the top of the show. I was like, I'm predicting that we'll have about maybe 3 songs that are similar, you know, or that we'll pick the same 3 songs.
I would have backed that guess. I would have backed about 3 or 4. Yeah.
But yeah, for one song, for it to overlap on our 2 lists, that's insane.
That's pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
But yes, everybody, we need you to share your lists. Share what you think about our lists. Share them down on the comments. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, all that stuff. And thank you for coming to Prince's Friend. May you live to see the dawn. Love you all. Thank you again to Chris.
See you guys.